Hello, everyone. Let me just do one thing. Okay, here we go. Thanks for being here. Jen is running a little bit late, but and I just had blueberries, so okay, fine. Today is Friday, April 8th, 2022. We're starting a new painting webinar, a new painting collection. We did a presentation yesterday. We're excited. Thanks for joining us. I know some people are running a little bit late. Some people won't be able to be here, and they will watch this webinar later. So this webinar is being recorded. We're gonna start painting, sketching, painting, and going through the process for the first 2 hours. And then after that, we are going to stop the recording and then open up the conversation about the stage that we will be at the end of the webinar. So I'm going to go right ahead. Here we go. Yes, and start the sketching. I'm using, hold on one second. Here we go. I am using 12 by 16. I'm using cotton paper, Arches paper. I've been seeing more and more companies that manufacture paper coming in with products that allow oil painting on them. I think they probably saw that there was a niche that only Arches occupied, and now at least 2 more companies they do paper that's suitable or suited for oil painting. None of them do 12 by 16, so I'm still sticking to Arches for the 12 by 16 cotton paper. And I'm going to do horizontal orientation. The format is rectangular. I went to Kinko's and I printed this so I can use it. It's a little bit narrower, so I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work. So the first step would be to start thinking on how to retrofit the image that we have with the format that we will be working on. And there will be some adjustments. And I think it's important to understand that the retrofitting will require us to make some tweaks in regards to the stretching or the occupying the remaining of the format and how we're going to do that. So I was at a loss about which image to pick out of the few that we posted on the shared folder. And because I wasn't sure which one, I was really confused, and I liked all of them and I wanted to choose all of them and I wasn't sure. So I used like a random number generator in order to let the internet pick for me. So this is what I ended up choosing for my image reference. And okay, I'm gonna go ahead, and then I think the first thing that I need to do with this subject is to understand how many maybe contours or lines or edges I'm gonna be able to grasp. So in this case, I have no horizon line. There's a picture of this wave, and I can clearly see that there's some edges, some parts of the painting in which I can clearly visualize the separation between different textures or different spaces. So I aligned the image to the bottom because I feel since I don't have a horizon line, I could easily fill up the rest of the space of the format by continuing the texture upward. So I don't have to reimagine or recreate anything. So as far as it goes in regards to the completion of the composition, I decided that it's better to align it at the bottom and then continue this sort of like texture above. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the right side of the composition because this is much narrower. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just kind of like widen the crest of the wave. But for now, I don't know where I have my yardstick right now. Oh, okay. There we go. I just want to start making some marks. This is going to be the top of the wave. And then, so maybe I'll just start by doing this. Maybe I'll also widen the curve, because I know I need to stretch the composition a little bit towards the right. Why? Because I want to make sure that I don't waste or kind of like drag my time during the process, trying to visualize what's outside of the image and making sort of like strange things on my composition. I feel so uncomfortable doing this because I think these paintings, some paintings are incredible. Some of the ones we posted, but they're not my cup of tea. They're a little bit cheesy. So I think this is a very good assignment, in my opinion. All right, so I think this splash that they did right here, I am going to, okay, I think that's gonna be it. Yeah, so I just want a few lines, because what's important here, it's to understand the process and to break it down. The most important thing right now here, it's work on the composition, how to arrange the main linear aspects of what we have. Forget about texture. Obviously, color is not involved in this stage, but I just want to make sure that I study my format and I translate, retrofit, reorganize or rearrange whatever happens here in a format that it's much narrower and it's shorter, in order to not have to bend backwards to change things up. So I think that's good. I lengthen this a little bit. This needs to be a little bit upward. I have so many conflicting kind of like emotions. So, oops, sorry about this. And I'll try to articulate them as I go, but I'm not going to try to think too much conceptually. This is I'm going to treat this as any other subject matter. I don't care. I know that it's going to come through with my own stylistic approach, regardless how hard I try to make it look like this. Okay. So I'm going to go right now and retrace again, but this time I'm going to try to be a little bit more specific with the nuances of those lines. I recognize on this painting that a palette knife was used to create some of the texture. And I want to talk about palette knife painting, because I saw two painters this past week, 2 weeks, using a palette knife. And I have a lot of things to say about it. Okay, so maybe I'll just entertain the idea of using a bit of a directional line. This is going to be so interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay. Good. Anything that puts, I feel like anything that puts me in a position where I feel afraid or insecure about this, it's always I embracing it. I know that I'm going to learn something out of this. And I think conceptually, um, I thought this was a really interesting choice. So things that I didn't say in the presentation. I too love to go to flea markets and sometimes collect art. I feel like our passion for collecting, I feel like it's something inherently human. There's something about us as a species, maybe gathering stuff or acquiring stuff or yeah. So collecting, gathering, it's something that I feel we all do or we love to do. And the subject of the collecting, it's so varied, as diverse as each human on this planet. So yeah, going to flea markets and looking at paintings, vintage paintings, I'm always fascinated. I always find value. I always think that those paintings are amazing. Some of them, whether they're really beautiful or whether they're so awkward and quote unquote ugly, that I find them powerful. So it's not the first time that I've seen people collecting vintage paintings and using them in interior design as a way of creating a unit, a visual unit that gives some sort of like emotion visually, but also conceptually. So I remember sometimes Kian and I, luckily we have completely different tastes, but we like similar things sometimes. So we like to watch some interior design things, like the AD Homes every month, and some YouTube channel creators that talk about design and stuff like that. So there's this designer who always features homes in the East Coast, really traditional homes in the East Coast. It's kind of like hilarious because you can see that the vibe is totally different. Tradition and class and things like that. So it's always interesting and fascinating. I'm starting to shade, by the way, so darker to lighter. I try not to be too specific. I try to be more directional. I think this is a simple arrangement of lines. And talk about crutches. The crutch in this painting is the texture and the color. But I discover, or I'm learning, that this is more about later, more about the detail and the texture than it is about the composition. So yeah, anyhow, some of the homes that I watch, Kian loves some of them, but I kind of like have like different opinions about them. I like the more eccentric details because I feel like that's more unpredictable, and there's more creativity when someone tries to break convention inside a home. I find it stimulating, and to me, it's a reflection of someone trying to be a little bit more genuine and with more character. I don't know. I make all these associations with like eccentricity in a way, and being outside of the norm. So in one of the rooms, I think there was I forgot the episode. There was a collection of vintage paintings of ships, like old school. You know, I think ships at some point in recent history, it was a thing. You know, people either collected small ships, I guess, or they had paintings of ships. So this maritime nautical theme, I feel like at some point it was big. So there was a wall on a room, and that person, the owner of the home, kept collecting vintage paintings of ships. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so whimsical, fun, and visually it just creates such a artistic, approach. So yeah, I just my eyes, when I would go to flea markets, they would either try to find paintings of ocean views or anything related to nautical themes, and it reminded me of that thing in that house, that room in that house. So scrolling through social media this week, boom, I just came across this museum in the Netherlands. I rewatched the presentation, and sometimes it's something that I shouldn't do because I feel like I mix concepts sometimes. In the Netherlands. Yeah, so, and I talked about Belgium and Germany, and I think I put everything together in the same pot. So it was so cool. I just thought, look, someone had a similar idea in the sense of collecting vintage art, and then they created an installation that conceptually feels so mesmerizing and so interesting. So yeah, this will be my own version. Okay, so I feel a little bit better. I had a little bit of anxiety at the beginning because I love painting paintings or using paintings as references. And we've done collections of paintings anchored in that idea, whether it was the copyist or whether it was like something else. I feel like we've done it before. But painting a painted seascape, it's the epitome of, in a way, cheesiness, because it's such a démodé subject. And it just belongs to an era in which, I feel like that was the closest middle to or lower class family would get to artwork, original artwork in a home. I grew up in a household where there were no artists per se, although I think my mom was had an artistic spirit, and if given the opportunity, she would have been an artist. But anyhow, I remember on top of the couch, there was this painting that we purchased. I remember the day we purchased it in a furniture store. I think we got the couch and a couple of chairs, and we got that painting. It's like an original painting, but it's one of those paintings that it's mechanically made, a la Bob Ross in a way. The thing about Bob Ross is that I love his work because of the campiness of it. And there's something nostalgic about how he did things. But trying to make the process formulaic, I know that it's not possible. You cannot make the art process and turn it into a formula that could be repeated. So this was the kind of painting that we had hanging on top of the couch. It was a landscape. I wish I had that painting. I don't know what happened to it. I need to ask my parents. But I remember I wasn't aware of art making at the time. I wasn't aware that I wanted to be an artist, or and I remember laying on the couch and looking at the painting and just kind of like looking at the painting, analyzing, looking at the strokes. And every time I did it, I just experienced something new, something different. So when this contemporary German artist in the interview he talks about art, the way he understands art, the essence of art, as a window or a portal to another world. I immediately connected with that idea. I felt that this was exactly what I experienced when I first looked at that painting on top of the couch. What I also experienced when I looked at the images of paintings, vintage paintings of ships in that episode on YouTube, in that interior. And also when I look at paintings in flea markets, there is a component of art that has the power of transport you to a different place. So I thought, when he talks about this in the interview, I thought that was absolutely magical. Hi, Jen. Oh, wait a second. One second. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, friends.
Hi. Yeah, you're here.
I'm here. Thanks for being patient with me.
No. It's all good.
Oh, I was like, who's Foster? And then I realized who that is. Amazing. Yay.
Awesome. And I know Beth also registered, but I'm sure she's gonna do it after.
Totally. Shout out to Beth.
I know. Good. Yes. Yay.
Yay.
Okay. So I think 25 minutes. I think that's okay. Almost 25 minutes. So as I was mumbling some stuff about memories and trying to connect things and go beyond the presentation, I started building some texture. And as I said, I was very afraid at the beginning, just because this is someone's version of an ocean, and it's so typical that it confronted me. And that's why I also like this subject. But I realized that these nautical compositions or seascapes are easier to articulate compositionally because they're not as many lines as I thought, separating details. They're also forgiving in the sense that we don't have to correlate too many alignments. Proportions may not be as important as any other subjects. And then I realized that the main crutches on these seascape paintings are color and texture. So because of that, I tried to just bring some directional brushstrokes in the different parts of the painting. The calm water behind, the upward curling water through the wave, and also the cylindric aspect, hold on a second, on the top. So also this sort of like curve right here, the receding, or not receding yet, but yeah, the line of water or the texture right here. So I feel like it's something that I didn't anticipate, but it's not necessarily scaled or put in a scale from darker to lighter because it's similar in value. But I feel the directional stroke here was much more important than creating an accurate scale of the light direction or the shading. So I'm going to continue working, but I haven't prepared my palette yet. So as I do that, I'm just going to mention a couple of things. Okay, so here we go. First of all, let me see if I can find the YouTube of the interview of this artist. Not very well known, really interesting process or background. I love how he thinks of art, how he defines success in art. And there's also a part of the interview in which I think I even took notes. He goes on to give advice for people who are currently involved with the art making or the art process. Yeah, but anyhow, so this idea of collecting as a means to escape, I never thought of it. And I really like it. I really like it. If there's anything that I feel I want to do sometimes, most of the time in recent years, is precisely that, escape. And maybe it's not the most appropriate, I would say, act, but I appreciate I appreciated him connecting this idea of creating artwork as a way of building a portal to a different world that allows the artist to leave. And also something very interesting, it allows the artist not to allow anyone else outside of that other world to come in. So that's another sort of like domino piece that I wasn't considering. You know, it's not just that the artist created this to escape reality. And in the interview, he doesn't go into details about his childhood and how many challenges he had to endure. But he does talk about art being that space that allowed him to transport himself somewhere else and not let anyone else have access to. And there's something really pure and innocent and powerful about that, you know, when you let your imagination recreate a feeling or an emotion, that sense of having the power of deciding who you allow to be part of it in your process. I think that's powerful. And I think that's part of the reason why we do this. This is our time, our moment, and it's up to us to decide if we want someone from the outside to participate in any level or any way, giving us a comment if we want to or not, showing the piece if we want to or not, but ultimately that decision making is ours, yeah, to use. I thought that was just super brilliant and fantastic and incredible. Because sometimes in childhood, I guess, if there's anything that defines childhood, oh my gosh, it's like a cheap unsolicited therapy. It's the fact that you don't have as much power as you'd think, you know. So the idea of like making decisions, it's not part of that experience. And obviously everyone has different experience, but with that, but I feel like, you know, that power up to decide, it's removed a little bit for whatever reason. I'm not gonna get into the reasons why. Other people make decisions for you. So it makes total sense that as a child, you know, having that artistic platform to be able to make decisions on your own, it's one of the healthiest things that you could do for a child, if you ask me. All right, I am ready. And before I continue, I definitely want to post the two interviews because I was enchanted. I mean, a little bit of context. I don't know this person or this artist. He is German, so there is certainly a Germanic approach to thinking. And I'm saying this with respect, but and he's a guy also. So there are a couple of things that, you know, they're very specific to the construct or the context. But at the same time, he says really wonderful things that are that really resonated in me. Okay. And also a combination of humbleness and courage, because sometimes to defend certain ideas that are not mainstream, you have to be honest with yourself, and then you have to be courageous to share them. So this is the long interview. It's 23 minutes, and I highly recommend it. Oops, sorry. Let me just put it in the chat. And also, if you want, Jen, I don't know if the chat shows up in the replays, but if you want to just add that to the notes.
Yeah, I think I will, because I don't think it does appear in replay. So I'll add it to the notes. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So we've been using mineral oil as not for painting, but to clean the brushes. And it's been a few weeks now, and I'm really happy about what it does. It's not recommended for painting because it doesn't dry or it doesn't get oxidized, but it really softens the bristles. Like, for example, I left my brushes in the car for a couple of days and I didn't clean them. But with the mineral oil, it really dissolves the paint and cleans the brush. So it's really good. And this is my jar of paint. I have a little bit of mineral oil. And what I do when I finish, I just put this in the jar and that's it. So I just remove the brushes and I put them back. But yeah, it's really good for that. I'm gonna get ready to do the imprimatura. And what am I doing here? I'm gonna use, I'm not gonna use any blues yet. I'm gonna make this my own. So I'm already happy with this. And I feel like it has my own essence. So I'm gonna start slow. Black and the periwinkle. That's gonna be, and I'm gonna go darker to the lighter. And I need to refill the solvent. I'm gonna continue, oops. 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna continue with the same premise as the charcoal, which means directional brushstrokes. Okay, here we go. My workspace is a mess. All right, so directional brushstrokes. The idea here is to create with the solvent to create a thin layer that primes the paper. It's going to take me a little bit of time, but that's okay. Darker to lighter. So I think the imprimatura in this subject, it's going to be pretty important. Every subject, every painting requires a different strategy or approach. And that's partially one of the reasons why art making cannot be formulated, just cannot. And we know that by experience. We know that every painting almost feels in a way like the first painting. Doesn't matter how many times we work, how many times we do this, you cannot formulate the process. You can have a few guidelines, but each time, yeah. Yeah, anyhow, so the idea of scaping, it's just another aspect that I liked when he was talking about his personal experience with art making. He put emphasis on the concept of repetition. And that's something that it reminds me of things that were said during the Andy Warhol Diaries, a documentary that I highly recommend on Netflix. there was one entry on his journal in which he says, in a way, every artist only does one painting, something of the like, meaning as an artist, you end up doing the same thing over and over, even though things may change and stuff like that. But as a principle, you only do one painting. Obviously, it's just a metaphor to say that we are creating different versions of the same thing, whether it's conscious or unconscious. So there's something true about this, I believe. And by the way, he said that of his own work. He didn't throw that as a criticism to anyone else. He described his own work like that, you know, just doing the same painting essentially over and over, and just creating different versions. So with Hans Peter, I think it's Hans Peter, I don't even know, I should know the name. With Hans Peter, yes. He takes that concept in a way and approaches in a different way, the concept of repetition. So one of the things he says, and that I like, and obviously each artist will just give you a different opinion of the process. He says that art doesn't solve problems. Art doesn't solve problems, meaning own personal problems or anything, conflicts, inner conflicts, outer conflicts. But because of that concept of cyclical recreation, or recreating different versions of the same process, it gives us the opportunity to reflect, alleviate, coexist with that conflict. And I thought that this was such a honest and simple definition of the potential of making art, and how sometimes we feel, we feel it would be able to do more than it does. Sometimes I think of art as an act of privilege. You know, I'm able to do it and others cannot do it. There's almost a sense of guilt about me being able to kind of like do this using materials and stuff, and other people not being able to. But seeing this approach, first thinking, you know, this is not supposed to be what art does. Art, it's not going to give you the solution of all the questions that you may have. It will provide an opportunity each time we make it. Each time we are in front of the easel of our piece, each time it's an opportunity to reflect on an issue or on a topic or something that continuously maybe haunts us, or we think about. And I like that approach. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing exactly, but this is very Van Goghian, but I'm going for it. We'll see what happens in the end. This will be really interesting. I always love this study of painting a painting and what happens in the end. And I'm realizing that it's pretty monochromatic. So yeah, I'm going to continue working on the imprimatura, and just trying to cover all the areas, so I'm able to wet the paper, wet the surface. I'm trying like darker to lighter in a way, but yeah, this is not going to be bad actually. All right, so here we go. I'm avoiding using white. And I'm going to go back to the topic of using a palette knife. And And he said that in the last 2 weeks, I saw 2 painters using a palette knife. So I was very observant. Because I sort of like have issues with giving someone a palette knife with oil, because it just could easily go wrong. So these were two painters. They were both familiar with the process. They were both experienced. It seemed to me, I didn't ask them, but it seemed to me that they have gone through process of instruction and learning and repetitively. So they both kind of like pulled out the palette knife, and I was observing how they would apply the paint. One of them didn't use a brush at all, and the other one used a combination of a brush and a palette knife. So, and I realized that the use of the palette was very specific. So they were doing sort of like tiny marks, very tiny marks in very precise areas. And they were taking much more time in between applications. So in other words, there were many more pauses, and the application of paint was much more strategic. And this is a confirmation why painting with palette knife, it's sort of like a super advanced, I would say, super advanced approach to painting, in my opinion. Because again, you know, one of them was doing, they were both doing plein air. One of them, Jen, we were together. It was, I forgot her name.
It was Bahar, right?
Bahar, yes. Yeah, she was very specific. She was very gentle. She took her time. She wasn't able to develop the painting a lot. So she wasn't able to create a lot of gradations with the palette knife, or blending with the palette knife. So the style was a little bit more pixelated and a little bit, if I may say, flatter, with less optical illusion. The other painter I saw in a flea market, and she was painting, she was in the middle of the flea market and painting a vintage car, and there were a ton of people passing by. So she was trying to capture some people, and she did it really quickly. But once she got the figures, she barely manipulated. She didn't add too much. It was mostly working the edges and shifting some lines. But again, very strategic, very specific, and with tons of pauses in between the application, much slower. And I think with Bahar, if you think of it, I don't know, Jen, what you think, but her process was also a little bit slower with a palette knife. She came back this week on Tuesday, and she used a brush, and I feel like she worked much faster. Yeah. All right.
Did she didn't use a brush and a palette knife on Tuesday, or
she used just a brush, or she used it.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't see. I think she used only a brush. She was able to draw more. There's much more like, right?
You're so right. Yeah, I was thinking of her palette knife painting at Griffith Park, but it wasn't there. It was the other way. Okay.
Yeah. No, it was certainly. It was a good way for us to observe. I don't know. I feel maybe we should give it a try, but it would be in a very controlled way. Just a few people would be able to do it. You guys, of course. But I feel you can pick up so many bad habits, because if you do it with acrylic, obviously the palette knife, paint dries and you can just kind of like slap paint over as many times as you want. But with oil, so certainly it's kind of like there's a difference. It was interesting. So I feel like in this case, there's some palette knife in some details right here. This is all palette knife, by the way. Maybe some of the scratches right down here is also palette knife. I know Bob Ross used palette knife a lot to create texture. And I think that's why people think palette knife is the tool du jour to do oil painting. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, all right, so I'm just trying to fill up, I'm trying not to leave any dry patches. So I'm gonna continue. I think the most important thing for me here is the directional aspect of my brush strokes. I'm not gonna try to incorporate color, match color or anything. In Primatura, it's not even a foundation. It's kind of like the preliminary prep work before the foundation. So I wouldn't consider this kind of like a part of the formal painting. It's prep work. So as we know, the hard thing about painting, it's not the technique. The hard thing is the emotional component, the fact that we need to slow down. We need to have a sense of trust that the process requires some steps, and each step is going to take some time. And slowing down, it's not easy, and it's becoming less and less easy in a world where everything is accelerating. Everything is instantaneous. Everything is sort of like based on convenience and speed and effectiveness. And I feel like that's why some people find painting so difficult. We have no patience for not getting results immediately. Part of the reason that we think we feel we're failing, it's because we have an expectation of things that need to happen at some point in the process, because we're used to that. And when we see that, you know, this doesn't follow the same rules, I'm thinking like going on a taking your car to car wash. You know, we know that. I know that it's a completely ridiculous analogy in a way, but not that ridiculous. We take the car to car wash, and then we know that there's a process. We don't have to do anything. But you know, the car will go in, and then certain things are going to happen through the tunnel, and then it will come out, and it'll be clean, and it'll be just, you know, satisfying and really, yeah, very satisfying. So I think this sort of like expectation, because it happens, or it generally happens in many aspects of our lives more and more, we have come to learn that we should expect a result based on a time and based on a process. And when it comes to painting, we get extremely frustrated because we feel like, you know, if we dedicate the time or the work that we've done before, you know, we have the right to expect that something positive is going to happen, and then that doesn't happen because, you know, with painting and the creative process, this does not work this way. Doesn't work this way. It's much slower. It requires much more patience, perseverance, focus, attention. Things move really slow. And we don't have time for that. People have no time for it. People have no time for it. All right, well, this is something. Yeah, I love the fact that this is challenging me so much. So I try to, going back to the premise of the piece that we showed with all the seascape paintings, it's currently showing in a museum in the Netherlands that's titled Art is the Antidote. So in their collection, all those paintings, not paintings, mostly installations, are part of their permanent collection. So the museum, it's contemporary museum that acquires sort of like playful pieces. It's not the typical conventional art museum that collects paintings or sculptures or artwork as a way of have a vast catalog of things. They're very specific in which paintings they choose and artwork they choose. So I try to find or look at more, and maybe Jen, if you want, I don't know. I forgot the name of the museum. The name of the museum is, I'm gonna find out right now. There are a few paintings. Here we go. Here we go. I'm just gonna put the address right here. Art is the Antidote. Oops. So in order to understand a little bit more why this piece was part of this exhibition, I tried to look at other pieces and try to find a theme, because in the description of the exhibition, they clearly stated that we were collectively in a state of anxiety because this was pre-Ukrainian war, or war in Ukraine, I should say. The pandemic, the degradation of democratic values, the uprise of the right-wing fascist, autocracies. So the museum tried to put together a show, an exhibition that would allow people to take a break. So sometimes it's interesting because a piece may have a meaning when it's part of a group, and then may have a radically different meaning when it's part of a different group. And I love that kind of like adaptability or flexibility of meaning. So this idea of escapism and nostalgia, melancholy about a past in which art was closer to us in our households, the calmness of a subject matter that we always associate with artwork. I think there's something really wonderful about the reasons why they chose this piece, sea paintings, as part of the Art is the Antidote exhibit. So, which we're trying to kind of like say, this is why we're doing it, as a way of like, escape, remove ourselves from, just for a moment. Something about scenes of ocean scenes or being in the ocean, going back to this idea of transporting yourself in a different place. How many times have we felt we were sinking in a contemplative state in which our train of thought was completely slowed down to the point of stillness when we were by the ocean at the beach. Very, very tiny moments. But I think this association with nature, loneliness, us being part of nature, makes this subject appealing for everyone. All right, so I think I should stop talking, and then this is too dark already, so I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm using the rack. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave the imprimatura here, done. Just gonna do some messy stuff. Yeah, so, all right, well, it's not too bad. I'm actually happy. I think this is good. So here's my feeling about this. and it sort of like connects a little bit with a part of the interview, in which he says, if your work creates an emotional connection with someone outside of you, that is the art part of it. So shifting the definition of art, not from making it, shifting it from skill or technique or, you know, the hands-on stuff, shifting it from there to someone who emotionally reacts to it. And that goes from someone who finds it beautiful or powerful or different. But for him, the art, the spark, what he defines as the art experience, is the ability of that painting or that piece to create a connection. And in regards to, in the context of success, he says that if only one person has that connection, not only that's art, but that's it. That's all you need. So I like this refocusing on when does art happen exactly? It happens after, not during, for him obviously. And also, it doesn't matter the amount or the exposure or the extent of that connection or the acknowledgement or admiration, as long as there's one reaction, that's it. All right, I'm gonna go to first notes. Okay, and it just blew up one entire hour. So medium brushes. And maybe one, should I bring the old hairy guy? Yes, maybe one old hairy guy. And this. And I even made some notes. Sorry, I'm gonna be, I was taking notes as I was watching the interview. Like, for example, things that I like. He considers that art has been discredited because of the transactional aspect of the art market. So there's something about art being part of or a commodity that's being exchanged and brings value, and people speculate and try to see it as an investment. All this kind of like scene has discredited what art really is. For this artist, that is not art. That is not art. And I feel like I resonate with that, because sometimes we get caught up with the reasons why we should be part of this or that, and we're not, and then someone is, and why not us, and what can we do, and stuff like that. Sometimes we get caught up with all this thinking about being part of what is actually not art. So yeah, things about repetition is the essence of art, and it allows us to work with conflicts and problems. Yeah, gosh, this one is very Freudian. There's one part of the section, I think the interviewer does a good job. He essentially says that most of our disorders or challenges stem from conflicts that we had in childhood, and that 80% of artists deal with those conflicts with their work. So I think that's kind of like a personal opinion, and obviously he was born in the early 1941. So there's certainly a much more impactful environment that makes him think that such a high percentage of artists are still dealing with childhood issues with their work. So it just made me wonder, you know, how much your context, sociological context, can impact a child for life. So it's just like a sober realization that when we are the most vulnerable, sometimes things may happen that, we continuously perpetuate. And then, yeah, the concept of like dreaming about other worlds, and how art allows us to dream about other realities. And that's kind of like a way of dealing with some of that conflict. Yeah, so those are the notes that I took. And it was kind of like refreshing to hear someone be so kind of like personal. All right, so first notes, first thing that I need to do. So two main things happen during first notes. We are bringing back lines, edges. We are having a new opportunity to redraw the edges that we have. And also, this is the opportunity in which we start studying the color palette. So there are a lot of blues. I'm gonna bring my blue Ziploc with all the blues. And I think definitely, for sure, there is a Prussian blue here, for sure. So I think Prussian blue is gonna be a big color in this, yeah, a big color. I think I'm going to say Prussian blue. I'm going to start with Prussian blue and see what happens. All right, so Prussian blue. The baby oil needs to soften this brush because it's hard and stiff. I think that's good. Okay, good. Baby oil is amazing. The other day, I wanted to wear some shoes that I wore precisely going to a farmer's market, and it was Sunday, it was hot. So obviously it was months ago. And then the city decided to fill the cracks on the parking lot where the flea market was with, what's the sticky black thing? Asphalt. So the day before, they came with asphalt and they filled the cracks that were on the parking lot, obviously because liability issues and stuff like that. But here comes Sunday, and then there was this very strong smell of asphalt. And then I was just looking at the objects in front of me. I wasn't looking where the crack was. So I get home, and then my shoes were filled with black sticky asphalt. So I didn't wear those shoes again. I was too lazy to clean it. And then in one of the sessions at Trails, what we mentioned that we were going to use mineral oil, baby oil to clean and stuff like that. Wendy told us that she used that to clean the shoes from asphalt. I believe that was the exact same thing. So yeah, I wanted to wear the same shoes. The asphalt was dry. I used the baby oil. I rubbed the baby oil on the asphalt and it melted. It melted. It removed everything and it cleaned the rubber, and it was shocking. Okay, so this needs a little bit more black.
Okay, that's amazing and also a little concerning. Isn't this stuff we're supposed to like use on our skin? Our baby oil. I mean, was it for babies?
Yeah, it was for babies. It wasn't a
Like,
Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I said, whoa, if this strips dry asphalt off the surface.
Seriously.
What does it do? I mean, it's supposed to give like a layer of protection or something, but I never thought of mineral oil as a cleansing, like a cleaning agent.
I know some people that use it like to take off makeup, like stage makeup, like the really thick, juicy stuff that you are in theater. They use like baby oil, cold cream, like those old school things. I mean, I guess if you're taking off like, makeup mud, I guess maybe asphalt's part of it. That is wild. Right?
Yeah. because I thought, with something so, I think of asphalt as almost an epoxy. Once it's dry, you're done, that thing is like supposed to endure everything. So
Totally. I mean, yeah, except for rain in LA, of course.
except for what?
Rain in LA.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's kind of like putty.
Yeah.
What happens? True. Yeah. So the apply to the brushes when, if I leave them in the car, if we go somewhere, and then I feel either too tired or too lazy to remove the brushes, my brushes, and I leave them in the car for a day or two, and then they're stiff. So I know that baby oil will just resuscitate. Okay, so I'm gonna use an approach to this that it's similar to the approach that I generally use for everything. I'm gonna work on peripheral areas. So a combination of darker to lighter and a combination of working on the periphery. There are two main groups, hue groups. So the blues with different scales. This painting is not great because many things. Someone asked yesterday, what makes a painting bad? And it's all relative. It's in the eye of the beholder, and we may use different criteria, and it's not really fair to say this painting sucks and this painting is good. But things about this painting that are weaker, I would say, although I think it's a great painting, it just creates the effect and it's really successful in that. It's the fact that all the blues are very similar. Even the blues right here, it almost feels like they use one single blue for almost everything with a little bit of black. So when you color a painting and you don't use variations of the color, you know that that's going to give such a stark, simple, flattened color palette. So it's texture. The white is very similar everywhere. There's no change in temperature. The blues are similar everywhere. There's no change in anything. And then there's this kind of like yellow, greenish yellow that is also applied everywhere. So it's very, very similar. So that makes a painting sort of like predictable or weak, if you want to use that term. And I'm using Prussian blue. I'm going to use the same thing. Okay. And I'm going to do darker to lighter. Prussian blue and black, and a little bit of gray. And again, directional. I'm not trying to be super specific. There was something, I feel like with the wisteria, I got a little bit of prep work. It was a warm-up for this. The wisteria was a warm-up for this, because I know that wisteria was, we had to recreate the texture without being too detailed. And I think that's the key here. Same thing. I'm not going to do every single, at this stage, I'm not going to do every single. I'm going to come up with a strategy here. So it's 12:10. I think at some point, I do want to bring or study the color on those two areas. So I think I need to come up with a plan. I'm going to work on this, so 10 until 12:30, work on this darks of this area. So 10 more minutes, see where I'm at, but I definitely want to give myself time to study the greens right here. So I want to make sure that, I make space, or I make time for that approach. I'm not going to use whites right now. I'm just going to work darker to lighter. And I'm glad I did a monochromatic base underneath. I think that was a good idea. I'm starting to feel less afraid, a little bit more embracing the randomness of this. I'm not as terrified. So right now, I just feel like it's important right now that I focus on just building. So I'm not going to judge. Oops, sorry, I'm not going to judge. Oh, did you see the breaking news about Will Smith? Jen?
Oh, what did it say?
They're banning him for any ceremony. I think that's kind of like, he already resigned for the next 10 years.
Wow. Wow. Can he, okay, if he resigned, can he still be nominated? It's okay, I'm very confused.
I don't know. Really?
Oh my gosh, my aunt literally just sent it to me. Hilarious. Will Smith has been banned from the Oscars and other film academy events for 10 years. There you go.
It's so weird. And almost like, you know, it feels like they were trying to come up with this. Putting a timestamp on this makes it look like a criminal sentence almost. You know, we're going to put you in quote unquote jail for 10 years.
Academy Awards jail.
It doesn't bode really well, I would say, for the Academy.
Yeah, I mean, what does?
Oh,
Struggle City.
Yeah, my gosh. Oh, I'm sure people will love to comment on this and stuff. So
yeah.
Okay, so I'm just continuing this other mess, but again, understand that this is a practice of slowness. So don't, I'm gonna try to avoid this word. Reflect on how you feel about the state that you're at. And when you identify an emotion that arises, that makes you feel like conflicted about that state, just understand that the context in which we feel with the process has a different criteria compared to any other processes. We're not putting this painting through car wash tunnel in which little elves inside will just paint a little bit and then you know, spanking delicious and fantastic painting will come out from the other end of the tunnel. It just doesn't work that way. So for me, when I feel like there's a something that confronts me emotionally and I feel like, okay, I'm not really happy about this, I find it difficult to here or there, it's a moment to reflect and center myself, try to calm those feelings down and contextualize that emotion in a way that gives me perspective. In the end, I try to come up with a feeling that says, it's okay, it's okay, I'm feeling this, it's okay that I'm going through this emotion right now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue working. So I'm going to avoid trying to pursue a solution for this because it's going to be like, what's the expression? You know, a vicious circle, or it's a dead end when you try to avoid that feeling by trying to find a solution to something. It's a dead end. There's no solution. There's, you know, it's not gonna work. So I'm more of a proponent of embracing that emotion and keep working. That's the key. Just continue working. So acknowledge, embrace, bring perspective, accept that the emotion that you're feeling of your work, it's normal. We're still at the very beginning. Yeah, this is kind of like a total mess, but that's okay. And then inhale, exhale, and get back to painting. Just get back to painting. Something that I liked about the interview is that I'm going to try to put less importance on the skill and more thinking more about someone will connect with this painting. Someone will smile, someone will spend time. So someone will create the art. I just have to be a mediator. I'm going to spend time. I'm going to do like 3-4 sessions on it. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to be focused. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to try to apply everything that I know, every experience, every criteria, everything. I'm going to do my very best. And I know that someone will create art out of it. I love that, you know, that responsibility is not on me. It's something that will happen. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. So what else? I'm gonna do, there's so much texture right up there. I don't know if I want to do that much. Actually, I'm gonna bring my old hairy guy and maybe I'll bring some cerulean. This feels like a cerulean sort of like base right there. Where's my blue Ziploc? I lose everything. Okay, here. Let's bring some cerulean with the Prussian, cerulean and Prussian blue. Yeah, also, I'm gonna kind of like say something about why this painting, oops, is also weak in that sense. No, it's not cerulean. It is not cerulean. It's not cerulean. And now what? Okay, it's not cerulean. Not cerulean. It may be ultramarine. Maybe ultramarine. Ultramarine is one of the warmest. It's a warm blue. We learned that last week. A warm blue, ultramarine and Phthalo, right, Jen? I forgot. Those are the two warm blues.
Yeah, ultramarine and phthalo. Let me look up again, just so we don't forget anybody.
Okay. So,
is it in Wisteria, right?
Yeah. Right, I got it.
Let me go. I thought that I had it. Okay. 1 second.
Yeah. So in the meantime, I am just I just studied the blue on the background, and it has a little bit of ultramarine and a little bit of cerulean. So I'm just gonna try to what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a base, because I don't want to do the texture. It's just gonna take forever. There's a little bit of gray and a little bit of periwinkle and a little bit of Prussian. I'm going for this. I don't care.
Okay, so it's cobalt, phthalo, and ultramarine.
And ultramarine.
Yeah, but then there's that in Danthrone.
Oh, yeah. I
heard of
either how to pronounce it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but that's kind of like, okay, that's good. Can you put the name on the chat?
Yes.
right, so I am just mixing different blues right here with some gray. So here's the thing about this. Oh my gosh, Indent Throne. Yeah, I've never heard of it. So another sort of like subtle reason why this feels in a way artificial. The water in the ocean, it's not this blue. Certainly it's not this blue. It's not this blue. I mean, unless it may be, I don't know, but I think the colors here feel very artificial. There's something that I like about that, but it's not as saturated. It's not as saturated. I'm using the Old Harry brush to create a faster approach to this area. Okay, good. A faster approach to paint faster. And I'm adding some gray. And I'm doing the lighter part and then the darker on top. I don't think I'll be able to put this at on this session, because there's certainly a background here. Is this even oil? I'm starting to doubt. I don't think this is oil, actually. Oh, Kurbanova. Jen, would you mind to find out if who Kurbanova? This is the name of the artist. Oh, Kurbanova. I didn't search, but
You want me to just look up her or look up her
yeah.
stuff? Okay.
If you can, yeah. See
Sure.
if there's. Okay. Okay. Time-wise, I said the 12:30. It's still not 12:30. I don't even remember what kind of blues I put. I'm just gonna put different kinds of blues. Maybe I'm gonna start to create the wave going upward. Okay, well, one step at a time. Let me see if I can bring some of the darker blue right now, which is Prussian and black. No, it doesn't stick. So I think this was kind of like a compromise, because darker to lighter is the way to go with oil. And I did lighter first. And now I'm not able to put the darker color on top of it, because as we know, when we put lighter tones underneath, the paint, the wet paint almost kind of repels the dark paint. It makes it really hard. So darker to lighter, it's a must with oil, but just gonna add a few notes, maybe kind of like to create the beginnings of a texture. Yeah, just building. I'm building. This is, and if you ask me, this is all preliminary foundational work. I need to have like some layers underneath first. I don't think I've ever in my life painted a wave. If you ask me if I would ever paint a wave like this, I would say, what? I would never do that. So I love that I'm doing it right now. All right, well, this is exciting. It's not terrible. I'm gonna bring some of those tones. I can bring some light tones right here. That I can do. Some light tones over for sure. Because I have the darker underneath, and see how I can bring the light tones over, but not the other way around. So just for that alone, it's a good example and practice of understanding that dark first, light after. Also, I'm going to leave it there, but I don't know. So when we kind of like presented the theme and everything, I think at the same time, Justice Kataji Jackson was confirmed. And so it was so exhilarating and so fantastic and so incredible that I almost, for a second, we felt, maybe we should kind of like switch and do a portrait of her. But instead, I think, we're going to propose, if you can do a portrait, I think it would be interesting to do a portrait of her, by the way, maybe in the next collection. But if you have, or you think of doing a portrait of her, please send it to us, because we would love to kind of like recognize this amazing moment in history and with something artistic. And that final confirmation happened when we were presenting this. Yeah, the direction is going all over the place, but that's okay. I don't know why it makes so much noise. So I'm just gonna, okay, here we go. I think this should do it. All right, so, no, it doesn't. So I don't know. All right, so here it is. I don't know why it makes noise, but sorry about this, but I just turned it off. So, sounds. Okay, here we go. Off. I think that's it. Should do it. Okay, I think that's it. So at 12:30, I think I'm going to stick to my strategy, and I'm going to study the color, that green color. That green color. I'm going to study that green and see what happens. There's certainly some blue in it. I'm going to do the lighter one. I think this requires some Hansa yellow. Can I just say how much I appreciate that we have painted for so long that now we have different yellows and different blues on our palette. We have constantly cross-corrected or adjusted our collection of paintings. It makes me so happy and proud at the same time. So now Hansa yellow and black, to make that green. Okay, no, it needs much more white. I spoke too soon. It's a little bit of blue, but I'm concerned about the blue. Maybe some ecru. Yeah, much more ecru. So not that there's not that much yellow. There's much more ecru there. So I need to tone it down big time. All right, ecru. This is why it's so important to study the color palette and test it and find out which sort of like color alchemy we're gonna use in the end to create a color that's processed enough and not too pigmented. Okay, good. So I'm going to do a combination of this and the blue. All right, tons of ecru, tons of ecru. So darker to lighter. I'll do darker to lighter. So this is kind of like the darker part. So let me just kind of like bring that and some black and maybe some gray to tone it down. I need to find out. This just seems very green to me. Woof, mega green. Okay, tons of black. So tons of black on that ecru and Hansa. Okay, so here we go. Oh my gosh, I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah, old hairy guy now? Maybe not. I'm not gonna do the old hairy guy. This feels like not right because I don't think the wave looks like a sushi roll. Okay, so I'm just gonna, again, very directional. Very directional. Oh yeah, I think that's good. Any trace on the web about O Kurbanova?
Oh yeah, she had a whole article about her.
What?
Yeah, Olga.
Olga.
She's from Ukraine.
Stop your nonsense.
Nope. I will not.
Oh my gosh. Is she alive?
That's a great question.
Oh my gosh.
No,
meaning
she
like,
actually, no, sorry. Oh, holy hell. You and I, my God. Oh man. Okay, yes, she's alive, I think. Okay, so it says she was born in Russia, spent most of her life in Odessa, Ukraine, where she lived until she moved to Erie 5 years ago, and this was in 2019.
she moved where?
Erie,
Where's that?
Erie, where is it? Like Ohio, Indiana?
Oh,
Help sister out, guys.
we need to connect with her.
Like, like, sure.
Wow. Okay, there's some psychic connection here going on. Oh, maybe.
Oh, Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I always forget that Pennsylvania has the Great Lakes. Yeah, she's in Erie, PA.
Oh my gosh, I think this painting is still for sale on eBay. Maybe I should buy it.
Oh, hopefully she did okay during COVID because this was written before COVID. She holds a master's degree in engineering.
What?
And she worked as head of a software consulting department.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So
She's hoping to improve her English. Let's see what else she says.
so this is definitely a portal to a different world. Her art.
She said she didn't do any art in Ukraine.
Oh.
She said, okay, It says, in what ways has moving to a new country affected your creativity? And she said, I did not do any art in Ukraine. The relocation and the circumstances surrounding it revealed these abilities in me. If I still lived in Ukraine, I probably would not know that I could paint.
Whoa,
Wow.
Jesus.
Because of her, she said, my job as a head of software consulting department carried a lot of responsibility and took a lot of my time. In fact, I hardly had time for household chores and emotional recovery on the weekend. How's that?
Wow,
Oops.
very interesting. Wow, we'll talk about another.
Started painting at 45.
I'm sorry?
She started painting at 45.
45. Okay. Wow, lots of info. Well, this was on eBay for sale, so I'm just gonna check it out again. I don't know how much it was, but very interesting. Okay, just gonna bring some. All right, and then I'm gonna bring some dark blue. Wait, was more dark blue. Thanks for checking, Jen.
Of course.
Okay, so I'm gonna continue. There's this, I think it's periwinkle. There's some periwinkle with black because there's this area right here. I love doing this. Love doing this. Kind of like so. We know because we've done this before that painting from a painting. Here's the reveal, you guys. We didn't tell you this. Painting from a painting, it's much more difficult than painting from a photograph. We've been here before. I forgot about it, and now I totally remember how hard it is to have a painting as a reference. Here we are. I'm trying to darken certain areas and the paint is resisting me. I cannot darken this. It's much darker and I cannot do it. So I'm just removing some. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna bring some white here. Oh my goodness, this needs a lot of work. Okay, so I'm gonna bring some white. Trying to kind of like do the textures, the variations. I think there's a lot of detail right here. I think I'm gonna spend the rest of the session trying to build a little bit more the texture here. And I'm gonna start bringing some white because I feel like I need this white. Yeah, so 5 minutes working on this values right here. Yeah, so working on this values, bringing some white. And there's a little bit more of that green in between, that dirty green. So this will be my challenging area, I would say. Vaya. Okay, I'm going to stop here on this area and then I'm going to try to bring some white on the reflection. And I know that there is this almost like zigzagging element. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to continue adding this variations, lots of texture. I think this is all texture. All, yes, the anticipation at the beginning when we said compositionally, this is going to be a little bit simpler in the sense that they're not that many architectural or structure elements. And I think all the heavy work, the heavy lifting, it's just the texture. Just using white. I'm doing, this is my first notes. Yeah, kind of like maybe first and second notes altogether. I completely bypassed that aspect and explaining, because, you know, I feel like I switched from imprimatura to kind of like texture already. With the first notes, we did the study. I did the study of the color. So that was like first notes. And maybe I'm kind of like continuing with first notes. So if I could just place or label where I'm at right now, just I'm still doing first notes. Okay, so I think so. And yeah. Just playing with, I feel also part of the reason why this is so good is because ultimately the installation of these artists featuring all the sea paintings or seascapes, from the viewer point of view, it triggers a lot of emotions, escapism, nostalgia of what art is, you know, seeing different versions of one same subject. But I want to experience, or I feel like experiencing the same sense of escapism, not only as a viewer, but as a painter. So I'm going to try to pivot here when I feel like, you know, this is a part of the process that it's really demanding. I'm going to try to pivot and also see this as an act of escapism and not be too concerned about if what I'm doing matches this or not. So again, that same conceptual basis that we described when we selected this subject as a theme, and I recognize that that was from the point of view of a viewer. I'm going to try to bring that same concept from the point of view of an art maker. How much of making art for us is also a way to find refuge from the world around us, not just looking at a painting, but actually making one. So that would be my meditative premise right now. When I find myself walking in the midst of a desert, thinking that, you know, where is the destination? How far am I? I don't see anything. Okay, well, there's something happening for sure. So I think I'm going to continue with the whites. I'm going to see if I can bring some of the texture, the splash. And I'm going to be embracing my style here. And here we go. Okay, trying to create some texture, and knowing that this is going to be a preliminary layer. So first, color notes. I'm going to work on this for sure 3 more times. So I need to put that in perspective as well. Yeah, I need to put that in perspective big time. Okay, so I'm going to work on this section right now. I think this will be maybe, I'm going to try to work on this section and on the shadow. And this will be my final, it's not too bad. It's not too bad, but I'm going to make Olga proud. Try to zigzag. Maybe I should do the darks first, right at the bottom. I'm gonna try to find, I think this is the same color as this. Yes, it is. So let me just bring, this is definitely 100% acrylic. I'm convinced right now. Convinced. All right, just bringing the big hairy guy to help me to apply some background shadowing color here. Ooh. And then I'm gonna bring the small brush and see if I can bring some darkness right here. Okay, I'm gonna also use the rag because I feel with the rag, I'm gonna be able to push the paint, rub the paint, smudge it to create a softer yeah, and then that separation between light and shadow. I need to bring it with white. All texture. I don't think I painted anything with so much texture. Yeah, that separation between the cast shadow and the light reflection, the sun reflection in the water. All right, but little by little, focus, work, continue working. Doors will open, opportunities to reflect will show up. We can always manipulate what we've got. Okay, now I'm gonna bring some white over it. So darker to lighter applies here more than anywhere. Oh yeah, sort of like the mist, the foamy aspect of it. So I'm bringing that zigzag, random zigzag after I apply the background. Oh yeah, I think that sort of like slowly builds, but this is definitely, I know now 100% this is acrylic, 100%, which this is the reason why it makes it so stark and high contrast. I can see the grain of the canvas. There's no blending. There's no, the oil that doesn't get into the pockets of the threaded canvas, woven canvas remains on top, and you can see the canvas texture. Oh, I need to find out, maybe on the eBay post, gosh, it's gonna be describe the material. I need to find out. I can't now. I can't. I'm gonna annoy everybody with like, okay, let me see with my history. History, browser history. I need to find this. Browser history, yesterday. eBay, okay, got it. eBay, gosh. Is it in Pasto? No. Oh, goodness. I'll find it right now. History, let me see if I can open. Oh, no. What's her name? Olga, who did this? Okay, so I found one Olga Kurbanova, and it is.
Wait, I posted them.
Oh, wait. You found them? The painting?
Yeah. Well, I didn't find this particular
Okay.
photos.
All right, I'm mistaken. Hold on one second. She uses oil. I'm buying.
Oh no, sorry, my internet's a little wonky. What did you say, Julio?
No, it's oil.
That she paints in oil? That's what you're saying?
Yep. Okay, I found it. $285. Oh my gosh. No. Okay, that was bad. By buying my art, you help support my family in Ukraine. Oh my gosh. 16 by 20, just the same as 12 by 6. No, this is 12 by 16. oil. It's oil. This lovely wave painting on canvas is done in beautiful shades of green and blue and will charge you with positive energy. Your dreams of a wonderful holiday near the ocean will fill your life with warmth and happiness. It will look great in any room in your home or can be a perfect gift for your loved ones. Okay, just gonna put it here. I'm gonna make an offer. No offers. All right. And sorry, Jen, you posted some, you said, right?
I did, yeah.
Oh, yeah, my gosh. Okay, wow. Oh my gosh, I love that, Jen. Wow, okay, we'll show them later. Thank you so much. This is fantastic.
Of course.
Okay, all right. So it's not acrylic, it's oil. All right, okay, challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. I'm going to continue with the white. Yep, I'm just going to continue adding some texture. And some transitional stuff. I said this, I took care of it. I added a little bit more texture here. I need to add more spillage. Oh, yeah, more spillage. Okay. This needs so many sessions, I feel. Okay. And I'm gonna kind of like continue, close the gap between the background and the wave. I think this needs to be a little bit clarified. I think, the other day we were talking about the fact that we're not using Gall-Kit anymore because it speeds up the painting oxidation too much. I think, using, there's so much texture right now, or there's so much texture on this painting that I feel if I would have used Gall-Kit at the beginning, I would have been able to add more texture by now. So something to be said about changing the medium depending on the, depending on the subject. Maybe with a subject with more texture, a landscape or a seascape. It would help just build Whoopsie. Building some highlights, maybe towards the end of the process. Okay, 2 more minutes, 1 more minute. I'm getting super engaged right now. But anyhow, so my last final minute. I want to bring more highlights on the wave. And using the rack, kind of like stretching the edges so it doesn't feel too segmented. Okay, I think that's good. Maybe I should just use the rack to smudge the segmented brushstroke a few more, a little bit more, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. I need to, when we build texture, especially we've said this when we painted hair, we need to kind of like layer a few layers, sorry for lack of a better words, on top of each other in order to build and weave the brushstrokes together so it creates a much more. Wow. Okay, I'm going to stop right now and I'm going to take a couple of minutes to take the photo, but essentially, all right, so this is going to be my stage right now. And I feel like this was like certainly different than what I've done before because of the amount of texture. So I wanna, this feels very straight. I want to create more unevenness here. I definitely want to bring much more texture over. Definitely just bring more values on this area right here to create a transition. Bring darker notes right here. So lots of things on my list to do, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a picture and then at 1:15 Pacific time, so in 10 minutes, I'm going to stop the recording and then please stretch, drink. Those are the two major things that we need to do. And then take a photo, upload. When we reconvene in 10 minutes at 1:15 Pacific time, we will kind of like exchange and share and discuss, and we'll provide feedback in order to see how we can push this painting forward. All right, so I'm gonna stop the recording right now, 10:15. We'll see you in a bit.